The Middle East, a region synonymous with age-old conflicts, is witnessing a new battleground emerge: cyberspace. Israel and Iran, locked in a decades-long shadow war, have taken their fight to the digital realm. This cyber conflict, characterized by covert operations and deniable attacks, adds a dangerous layer to an already volatile relationship. Recent years have seen a surge in cyber attacks targeting Iran's critical infrastructure. Power grids have been disrupted, government websites taken down, and industrial systems thrown into disarray. While no nation publicly claims responsibility, suspicions immediately fall on Israel, a country widely acknowledged to possess sophisticated cyber capabilities. This digital duel is not merely about disrupting systems, it's about sending a message. Israel, facing existential threats from Iran's nuclear ambitions and regional proxies, views cyber warfare as a potent tool. It allows them to strike deep inside Iran, delaying programs and undermining capabilities, all while maintaining a degree of plausible deniability. Iran, for its part, is not a passive victim. It has invested heavily in its cyber defenses and has been linked to retaliatory attacks against Israeli interests. This back-and-forth exchange of digital blows highlights a dangerous reality. The Middle East conflict is increasingly being fought in the unseen realm of cyberspace. The spectre of Stuxnet looms large over the current cyber conflict between Israel and Iran. This sophisticated computer worm, discovered in 2010, targeted Iran's Natanz uranium enrichment facility. Stuxnet, widely believed to be a joint US-Israeli operation, caused significant damage to Iran's nuclear program, setting it back by years. The Stuxnet attack was a watershed moment in cyber warfare. It demonstrated that digital weapons could inflict physical damage on a scale previously unimaginable. No longer was cyber warfare confined to stealing secrets or disrupting websites. It could now cripple critical infrastructure, potentially with devastating real-world consequences. The attack also highlighted the challenges of attribution and the potential for escalation in the cyber domain. While neither the US nor Israel officially acknowledged their role in Stuxnet, Iran had no doubt about the culprits. They vowed revenge, raising fears of a tit-for-tat escalation in cyberspace. The lessons of Stuxnet are particularly relevant today as Israel and Iran engage in a new round of cyber skirmishes. The stakes are high, the attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated, and the potential for miscalculation and unintended consequences is growing. While Iran's nuclear program remains a primary target, recent cyber attacks have expanded to encompass a wider range of critical infrastructure. In 2020, a cyber attack disrupted operations at the Shahid Raja'i port, one of Iran's busiest shipping terminals. The attack, attributed to Israel, caused chaos and delays, highlighting the vulnerability of Iran's economic lifelines to digital disruption. In another incident, a cyber attack targeted Iran's fuel distribution system, leading to long lines at gas stations and widespread public frustration. The attack, widely believed to be the work of Israeli intelligence, demonstrated the potential for cyber attacks to sow social unrest and undermine public confidence in the Iranian government. These attacks, beyond their immediate impact, point to a shift in Israel's cyber strategy. No longer content with solely targeting Iran's nuclear program, Israel is now aiming to degrade Iran's overall capabilities, disrupt its economy, and erode its ability to project power in the region. Israel's prowess in cyber warfare stems from a combination of factors. Facing constant threats from its inception, Israel has invested heavily in developing cutting-edge technology, including in the cyber domain. This has resulted in a sophisticated cyber arsenal, capable of both defending Israeli networks and launching offensive operations. Israel's Unit 8200, its elite signals intelligence agency, is at the forefront of its cyber operations. Staffed by some of the country's brightest minds, Unit 8200 is tasked with gathering intelligence, developing cyber weapons, and carrying out covert operations in cyberspace. Israel's cyber strategy is characterized by a defense by offense doctrine. This means that Israel is willing to use its cyber capabilities preemptively to neutralize threats and deter future attacks. This proactive approach, while effective in some cases, also carries the risk of escalation and unintended consequences. Section 5. The US factor a silent partner in cyber warfare. The United States, Israel's closest ally, plays a complex and often opaque role in the cyber conflict between Israel and Iran. While the US does not publicly condone or acknowledge Israeli cyberattacks, there is a tacit understanding that Israel has some leeway in using cyber means to counter Iranian threats. The US and Israel have a long history of intelligence sharing and cooperation in the cyber domain. The Stuxnet worm, widely believed to be a joint US-Israeli operation, is a testament to this close relationship. While the exact nature of US involvement in recent cyber attacks on Iran is unknown, it is highly likely that there is some level of coordination, or at least awareness on the part of US intelligence agencies. The US, however, faces a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, it wants to support Israel in countering Iranian aggression. On the other hand, it does not want to be seen as condoning cyber attacks that could destabilize the region or set a dangerous precedent in international relations. Section 6. On the razor's edge, the escalation dilemma. The cyber conflict between Israel and Iran is fraught with risk, with the potential for miscalculation and unintended consequences always looming. The lack of clear rules and norms governing cyber warfare exacerbates this danger, making it difficult to predict how each side will respond to attacks and raising the spectre of a rapid escalation. One of the key challenges is the difficulty of attribution. While it is often possible to attribute cyber attacks with a high degree of confidence, definitively proving the source of an attack can be extremely difficult. This ambiguity creates a situation where nations can carry out cyber attacks with a degree of plausible deniability, making it harder to deter future attacks and increasing the risk of miscalculation. Another concern is the potential for collateral damage. Cyber attacks, even when targeted, can have unintended consequences, disrupting civilian infrastructure or causing economic harm that spills over beyond the intended target. This collateral damage can further inflame tensions and make it more difficult to find a diplomatic solution to the underlying conflict. Section 7. Cybersecurity in the crosshairs, a global challenge. The cyber conflict between Israel and Iran has far-reaching implications that extend well beyond the Middle East. It highlights the growing importance of cyberspace as a battleground for nation-states and the increasing vulnerability of critical infrastructure to digital attacks. The attacks on Iran's infrastructure serve as a wake-up call for governments and businesses around the world. They demonstrate that cyber attacks are no longer the exclusive domain of sophisticated intelligence agencies, but are within the reach of a growing number of state and non-state actors. The lack of clear international norms and regulations governing cyber warfare further complicates the situation. Without a common understanding of what constitutes acceptable behavior in cyberspace, the risk of miscalculation and escalation remains high. Section 8. The unseen battlefield. Navigating the shadows of cyber war. Cyber warfare, by its very nature, is shrouded in secrecy and ambiguity. Unlike conventional warfare, where battles are fought in the open and casualties are readily apparent, cyber attacks often unfold in the shadows, with their true impact difficult to assess. This lack of transparency makes it challenging to report on cyber warfare accurately and responsibly. Journalists and analysts must rely on a patchwork of sources, including government leaks, technical analysis and circumstantial evidence, to piece together a coherent narrative of events. The fog of cyber warfare also creates fertile ground for misinformation and propaganda. Governments involved in cyber operations have a vested interest in shaping the narrative to their advantage, often exaggerating the impact of their own attacks while downplaying the effectiveness of their adversaries. Section 9. The cyber domino effect, unintended consequences and global ramifications. The cyber conflict between Israel and Iran is not an isolated event, but rather a symptom of a broader trend of increasing cyber aggression by nation-states. As more countries develop and deploy cyber weapons, the risk of miscalculation and escalation grows, raising the spectre of a cyber conflict that could have devastating global consequences. One of the most significant concerns is the potential for a cyber attack to trigger a real-world conflict. A cyber attack that causes significant damage or loss of life could easily be misinterpreted as an act of war, leading to a rapid escalation of hostilities. Another concern is the potential for cyber attacks to undermine global stability. Attacks on critical infrastructure such as power grids, financial systems or transportation networks could have cascading effects, disrupting economies, sowing chaos and eroding public trust in institutions. Section 10. Towards a cyber peace, the future of conflict in a digital age. The cyber conflict between Israel and Iran highlights the urgent need for a new framework for international cooperation and norms in cyberspace. Without clear rules of the road, the risk of miscalculation and escalation will continue to grow, threatening to plunge the world into a new era of digital conflict. One promising avenue is the development of international treaties or agreements that prohibit the use of cyber weapons against critical infrastructure or for the purpose of causing widespread harm to civilians. Such agreements, while difficult to negotiate and enforce, could help to establish a baseline of responsible behavior in cyberspace. Another important step is to improve international cooperation on cyber defense and incident response. By sharing information and coordinating responses to cyber attacks, nations can better defend themselves against common threats and reduce the risk of miscalculation.